people keep on saying that the Baltimore Ravens offense and Lamar Jackson are going to take a step back this upcoming NFL season. And the reason why, the people's logic behind this, is because the Ravens had a gimmick offense. And defensive coordinators are going to have Lamar Jackson all figured out. They're going to have all offseason to figure out Lamar Jackson and how to stop him. And if I had $1 for every time I heard this reasoning behind why a young quarterback will regress following a great season, I would be a millionaire right now. Because that reasoning, that logic is just so played out, so watered down, and I think it's a weak argument, right? So a lot of people who say that, right? While defensive coordinators are quote unquote figuring out Lamar Jackson, do you not think Lamar Jackson isn't going to be working, getting better, perfecting his craft? Do you think Lamar Jackson just reached his ceiling last year? Let me tell you guys something. Lamar Jackson, and following his second season in the NFL, is a better quarterback than what Michael Vick was. Michael Vick didn't get to the level Lamar Jackson was right now as a passer until he got to Philadelphia with Andy Reid. So if Lamar Jackson in his second year has already eclipsed what Michael Vick was at that point in his career, I'm pretty sure that Lamar Jackson is going to be a lot better this season than what he was last season. Because I don't think Lamar Jackson is just going to be stagnant. He's not going to have no development. He's not going to have no growth at all. Especially going into his second season under offensive coordinator Greg Roman. And a lot of people forget that. A lot of people don't realize this. But just because you game plan for this Baltimore Ravens offense doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be able to stop it. The Ravens ran the ball more times than any other team in the NFL last year. So teams knew what was coming. But just because you know what's coming doesn't mean you're going to be able to stop it. Just because teams are going to have all offseason a game plan for this Baltimore Ravens offense doesn't mean they're going to be able to stop it. Because just because you can game plan for something, you got a blueprint for something, but not every team is going to be able to replicate what the Tennessee Titans did in the playoffs. Not every team is going to be able to replicate what the LA Chargers did in the playoffs, Lamar Jackson's rookie season. Because not every team is equipped to stop this Ravens offense the way the Titans and the Chargers did the past two seasons. Look at the New England Patriots, for example. Everybody, and myself included, thought that Bill Belichick was going to stop Lamar Jackson and slow down this Ravens offense. And it had no answer. Now, I don't believe that Bill Belichick came into that game with the wrong game plan. I just feel he just ain't have the personnel to stop this Ravens offense. You see, if you want to beat this Ravens offense, you got to have more than just a good game plan. You got to have the personnel to do it. Tennessee and the LA Chargers had the personnel to stop this Ravens offense and stop Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. You got to have speed, and you got to have good depth on the defensive line. You got to be able to rotate guys into the game and keep guys fresh. And you also have to have speed on the defensive side of the football. And not every NFL team has the personnel to do that. The New England Patriots were a good example of, although they probably had a good game plan, they didn't have the personnel to stop Lamar Jackson. They didn't have the speed. They didn't have the depth on the defensive line. Not everybody can stop this Baltimore Ravens offense, okay? So just because defensive coordinators are going to have all offseason a game plan for it, doesn't mean they're going to have the personnel to stop it, okay? And a lot of people forget that Lamar Jackson, although he was a main catalyst behind why the Ravens offense was so good last year, Mark Ingram was another big reason why the Ravens had the success they did on the offensive side of the football. Because it's funny how when Mark Ingram was injured, this Ravens offense was completely different. You see, now you bring in J.K. Dobbins, who is basically Mark Ingram 2.0. They're basically the same. They both have great balance. They're both hard to bring down on initial contact. And you probably don't want to have to try to tackle these guys in a one-on-one open field situation. Because 9 out of 10 of the times, if you're a safety or a cornerback, you're going to lose. Not only do they have great depth at the halfback position, but they also are probably going to be better at the receiver position. A lot of people forget that another reason why the Titans beat the Baltimore Ravens was because a lot of drops. They had a young wide receiving core. This receiving core is going to be a lot better. Marquise Hollywood-Brown is most likely going to be a 1,000-yard wide receiver. He's probably going to be a Pro Bowler. And this whole entire wide receiving core is going to be a lot better compared to where they were last year, because mostly all the wide receivers they played were fairly young. So they're going to have more experience going into this year compared to where they were last year, right? So I just think the narrative that people are using to give the reason why Lamar Jackson and his Baltimore Ravens offense is going to take a step back is watered down, and it is a weak argument. A lot of people, the only way I see a team stopping Lamar Jackson is if he gets injured. And another thing is, stop saying Lamar Jackson is going to end up like RG3. Just stop it. This Ravens offense is nowhere close to what the Washington Redskins ran RG3's rookie season. It's completely different. Different coaching staffs, different philosophies, different rosters. This Baltimore Ravens roster right now is way more talented than the Washington Redskins had back when RG3 was a rookie. RG3 failed because he tried to be something that he wasn't. He wanted to be a pocket passer. He didn't want to use his God-given abilities of what got him into the NFL. Lamar Jackson, although he may be running all over the field and things like that, as long as he's able to slide and avoid getting hit, he's going to be straight. He is going to be good. The only way I see this Baltimore Ravens offense taking a step back is if somehow Lamar Jackson gets injured. So people got to stop this narrative that Lamar Jackson's Ravens offense is going to get stopped because defensive coordinators are going to be game planning for it. So while defensive coordinators are going to be game planning, Lamar Jackson is going to be getting better. Because I don't know if you guys realize, but Michael Vick has said it several times. Lamar Jackson is already better than what he was when he was playing in his prime. And that's not me saying that. That's coming from the mouth of Michael Vick. Lamar Jackson is a better passer than what Michael Vick was when he was in his prime playing for the Atlanta Falcons. Michael Vick didn't get to where Lamar Jackson is passing until he got to Philadelphia with Andy Reid. So Lamar Jackson going into his third year is already a better passer than what Michael Vick was. So the narrative that Lamar Jackson's Baltimore Ravens offense is going to get stopped just because people are game planning for it and things like that is just a weak argument. It's really weak to me. People think just because a team finds a unique offense that it's a gimmick. Like, the Ravens are not going to adapt. Like, people act like the Ravens are going to come in and they're going to do the exact same thing they did last season. I'm pretty sure with Greg Roman still being the offensive coordinator, he is going to add on more and he is going to throw some more different looks compared to what they did last season. Like, I don't know why people think that the Ravens are just going to be the same. Like, they're not going to evolutionize. I don't know why people think that Lamar Jackson is going to be the exact same quarterback he was last season, like he's not going to get better. So just because you're going to have all off-season a game plan for this offense and game plan for Lamar Jackson doesn't mean you're going to be able to stop him. I believe that Lamar Jackson is going to be better than what he was last season this season. Don't be surprised if he ends up exceeding what he did his MVP season last year, right? And another thing is, not a lot of teams have the personnel to stop this Baltimore Ravens offense. You got to have depth on the defensive line because you got to be able to keep guys fresh. You also got to have speed on the outside. You got to have speed in the secondary. A lot of teams don't have that. A lot of teams aren't going to be able to do what Tennessee was able to do because they're not going to have the talent defensively or the personnel to do it. Basically, based on a lot of people's philosophies and a lot of people's reasoning, basically every team is basically going to have to change their scheme when they play the Baltimore Ravens this year to beat the Ravens. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Not a lot of teams have the personnel, the depth, or the talent to stop this Baltimore Ravens offense. Greg Roman's going into his second year as an offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm pretty sure he is going to have some different looks, some different plays, and I'm pretty sure Lamar Jackson is going to be a lot better this year than what he was last season. Let me know what you guys think about how good the Baltimore Ravens offense will be this upcoming NFL season. Do you think Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense will take a step back? Or do you think they will be better than what they were last season? Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.